Hillary Clinton would be, without a doubt, hands down, the absolute best CEO of a public company. Ruthless, profit-driven, and all about the money. But if you're looking for a different kind of CEO, one to run the greatest nation on earth and bring back America, now teetering on the brink of socialism, to be president of the United States, Hillary Clinton is the worst possible choice. She, in fact, is the person to run away from. And what makes you think she cares about you? She doesn't care about you. This woman only cares about herself, money, her next step up the political ladder, and if president, will only care about her legacy. And if you don't see that from events of this past week, then you are exactly the kind of tuned-out voter that Hillary is hoping to turn out in droves in 2016. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about influence peddling on a global scale and the setting of American foreign policy to coincide with the flow of hundreds of millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation and millions directly to Bill Clinton and ultimately Hillary in speaking fees. Exhibit 1. Bill takes a plane ride to Kazakhstan with a Canadian who wants to buy uranium. Now, the president of Kazakhstan is a human rights violator. But Bill actually praises his human rights record and then expresses support for that president to lead an international elections monitoring group. Crazy, because that Kazakh president is accused of rigging his own elections. But back to the deal. Now, Kazakhstan approves the sale of uranium to Bill's flying buddy. And months later, the Clinton Foundation gets a $31.3 million donation from the Canadian, which was a secret and not disclosed by the Clintons until the Canadian government outed it. Now, the Canadian wants to sell his uranium business to Russia. Enter the Clintons. The State Department approval is needed and granted. Bill gets a $500,000 speaking fee, and Russia now controls 20% of the U.S. uranium production, a national strategic asset. That very same Russian company, Uranium One, made a $2.35 million contribution to the Clinton Foundation, not disclosed by the Clintons. Now, Hillary has always been against foreign governments controlling U.S. strategic assets like ports.
We believe that no foreign government should control our ports.
But Hillary has a change of heart after huge amounts of cash, both reported and unreported, flow into the Clinton Foundation. Russia, the same country that sends uranium to Iran, which aspires to build its own nuclear weapon, now controls a great deal of American uranium. Exhibit 2. A guy named Pinchuk manufactures steel pipes in the Ukraine. He and Bill become fast friends. His company does business with Iran, violating U.S. trade sanctions. Hillary is Secretary of State, and her department is tasked with holding foreign companies responsible for violating sanctions. The Clinton Foundation receives millions of dollars from the Pinchuk Foundation with a pledge to give another $20 million more. And shocker, the State Department never sanctions Pinchuk for any violations. Exhibit 3, a tragic earthquake in Haiti. 316,000 people die. Hillary there within days, as is Bill. As people dig bodies out of buildings, Bill promoting a wireless phone system for Haiti. His good friend Dennis O'Brien, a man of virtually no digital experience, receives a grant to create that very system. And a man previously unknown to Haiti is now the biggest player in mobile phones in that country. Now, folks, there's no question that Bill Clinton's speaking fees tripled and quadrupled when Hillary was Secretary of State, while the contributors who stood to profit from Hillary's influence at the State Department employed Bill. Historically, Prosecutors have looked for quid pro quos from politicians when they deliver to constituents or contributors. Politicians doing business for themselves and lining their own pockets is the essence of public corruption. Not only were contributions to the foundation and speaking fees to Bill made, but in many of these deals, both Hillary and Bill were in the subject foreign country at the same time, wheeling and dealing. She wielding American diplomacy, and he receiving speaking fees of $500,000 to $750,000, and their foundation, the huge beneficiary of hundreds of millions of dollars, some reported and some not. You know, prosecutors have convicted politicians for things as simple as a free cab ride in exchange for favors. Anything from bribery, conspiracy, corruption, a violation of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Whenever an American government official accepts gifts intended to curry favor, he crosses the line. Now, Bill and Hillary, if you'll remember, started with nothing. Bill is now the wealthiest ex-president in the United States. Might it be because Hillary greased the skids, after which Bill accepted massive gratuities? Many think we may never know because she refuses to give up that private email server. And therefore, there's no smoking gun. But I have news for you, folks. A jury can infer guilt from benefits received and subsequent favorable treatment. And FBI Director Jim Comey, a former United States attorney, knows this. He knows what needs to be done. He simply needs to follow the money. Audits of Bill's tax returns, Hillary's tax returns, joint returns. And they're already refiling 5 years of tax returns for their foundation. Now, most people I know who refile tax returns get indicted and go to jail. How do you go from dead broke to filthy rich? Why would you not recuse yourself as Secretary of State when there is a conflict of interest or even the appearance of one? You know, Hillary Clinton's life has always been about the money. From Whitewater to cattle futures to leaving the White House with whatever china she could take. As a prosecutor, I can tell you it's always about money or women, and the Clintons have both. And when I hear things like, oh, everybody does it, my back goes up. I am tired of people defining political deviancy down because it's being committed by a member of their party. And my back goes up when I hear that Russia, because of the Clintons, now controls a great deal of America's uranium. You know, there is a name for people who are willing to sell out their country for cash. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter at Judge Jeanine, #JusticeOpen.
What I sought to do, Tucker, was to ensure that we had these issues on the table, and I made sure that our candidates, I didn't want them blindsided. That's what I admitted to. That's what I, look, what WikiLeaks put out.
That's the greatest spin I've ever heard. I didn't want them blindsided. Hey. That's so good. You should do this for a living. That is hilarious. Leaked the questions to a candidate because she didn't want her blindsided. Mark Steyn is an author and columnist. He's seen plenty of political scandals in his long career. And was watching that. I'm sorry, I don't typically laugh in the middle of an interview, but I didn't want them blindsided. She didn't answer my question, which it's hard to believe that nobody knew that had happened. I mean, maybe nobody did, but it's hard to believe that.
Well, she answered with one of the all-time great lines in the history of broadcasting. She said, "You should have seen the things I leaked to Martin O'Malley." And actually, I would like to see that, because I believe that's actually a big box of nothing. I don't believe... I like her as much as everyone likes her. And you should go fishing with her. I'd rather go fishing with Donna Brazile than go fishing with Hillary Clinton, because you get the feeling you'll be sleeping with the fishes by the end of the afternoon if you go fishing with Hillary. But I do not... She says a lot of... I do not believe that Martin O'Malley was... his email account was buzzing with helpful non-blindsiding leaks from Donna Brazile.
Kind of hard to imagine that. It's interesting, though, the venom that has come out from Democrats since this book emerged. I mean, look, Hillary lost. It was obviously a massive failure on her part. That's not hidden. The Democrats know that. And yet, Democrat after Democrat has said, and many in the media basically, why would you betray the party? Especially before a critical election, yesterday's election. They were infuriated by the timing of this. Kind of a Stalinist response, I thought.
Well, that's the great advantage that party has always had since the Clinton years. They don't have John McCain's. They don't have figures who sell themselves to the public by standing against their own party. And you made an interesting point, Tucker, when you said you wondered why so many media figures take Hillary's side on this. I think Hillary has two kinds of supporters. I think she has bagmen like the outgoing Virginia governor, Terry McAuliffe, who basically looks at the Clintons and thinks, I'd like to be doing sleazy 10-figure deals with Kazakh oligarchs just like Bill and Hillary do. And then you have media figures who think, I'd like to be getting 6-figure sums for Clinton Foundation speeches on diarrhea in Africa that nobody can listen to. And I think if you actually take those two groups out, you get to the problem here. The reason the Democrat Party has lurched left is because the moderate centrist wing is represented by a corrupt dynastic kleptocracy, i.e. the Clintons. They tainted Democrat moderation and Democrat centrism.
That's very smart. And very sad, by the way. I mean, a party ought to have a vibrant centrist wing, and they don't. I've never thought of that. It's a really smart point. Mark Steyn, thank you. You always make this show better.
Thanks a lot, Tucker.